boys and girls. We are here together today to work on our next math lesson. So today we are still working on our pretty new to us math module or our unit 4, where we are working on area. And remember, when we find area, we are finding how many square tiles it takes to fill in a shape. So we worked on that for the past couple lessons. We're going to continue on. So for today, if we look, our lesson for today, our objective is to relate side lengths with a number of tiles on a side. Also, for I can statement, I can determine the length of an object by any number or by the number of tiles. And also for today, for materials, you are going to need your pencil as always. You are going to need your problem set lesson 4, which looks like that. Okay. And the other thing that you need today that'll be different and fun is a ruler. Okay. So make sure that if you don't already have your ruler ready today, with your ruler, you need it to have inches and centimeters. Okay. So you need your lesson 4 problem set, a pencil as always, and you need a ruler with both inches and centimeters. So if you need to pause your video to get those materials, go ahead and do that, and I'll see you in a second. All right, friends. So we read our objective in our I can statement already. So let's look. I want to do a little bit of practice to warm up our math brains and to do a little review of what we've worked on already. Okay. So, and if the background looks different today, I'm at home today. I'm in my dining room right now. So some of my kids' work is behind me. All right. So if we look, it says that we're going to be counting the square units, and it says how many square units are in each rectangle. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles. They all look different. So let's go ahead and find the area. So we know that there's a couple different strategies we can use when we find area. If they're broken up into square units like this, square tiles, the first strategy is that we can just simply count the tiles, right? So let's go ahead and count the squares here. Let's do this first, the long, tall, vertical one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the area of this big, long one is 8. I'm going to write it right on the side here like that. And it doesn't tell us what the unit of measurement is. So I'm going to put 8 square. Remember, SQ is the abbreviation for square and UN is the abbreviation for units. Okay, so go ahead and let's look at this rectangle right here. All right, so you go ahead and find real quick the area of that rectangle for me. What did you find? Did you find that the area of this rectangle was 8 square units as well? Yeah. So if we count, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. We could also, that's one strategy. The other strategy we talked about is if we have 2 rows and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in each row, we can multiply our side lengths, right? So 2 times 4 equals 8. Okay, so far, the first 2 rectangles that we found the area of, they have the same area, right? Do they look the same? They do not for sure, right? But they have the same area. Okay, let's look at this one. So we have another long, skinny one. So this one, if we count the tiles, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 again, right? So 8 square units. The strategy we used that time was just counting the tiles. Okay, go ahead and look at that last one and find the area of that last rectangle. The area of that rectangle is also 8, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I was just to simply count the tiles, the other strategy I can use is I can label my side lengths and multiply, right? So if I look at the rows, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rows times 1, 2 in each one. So 4 times 2 equals 8. So this rectangle also has an area of 8 square units. So what do we notice about all 4 of those rectangles? They have the same area, right? So the question says, do the 4 rectangles look the same? No, they do not, right? What do they have in common? They all have the same area of 8 square units. If we look, this rectangle is 8 rows of 1 and it's vertical. we took that same rectangle and we turned it onto its side right here. So it had 1 row of 8. Here we had a rectangle with 2 rows of 4. And we took that same rectangle here and we turned it onto its side basically, right, with 4 rows of 2. So we took this one, we turned it like this for that one. For the 2 times 4, we took it was already this way, and then we turned it that way. So they're the same ones, we just turned them different ways, but they all had the same area. Good job. Okay. Is this becoming pretty easy for us? Good. All right, now we are ready to move on to our problem set, and here's where you need your ruler today. Okay, so go ahead and put your name and date on your paper if you don't have it already. And our directions say to use a ruler to measure the side lengths of the rectangle in centimeters. So we're going to measure the side lengths in centimeters. And then we're going to mark each centimeter with a point and connect the points to show the square units. Then count the squares you drew to find the total area. Okay, so what we're going to do, so we'll just kind of go step by step. So use a ruler to measure the side lengths of the rectangle in centimeters. So you need your ruler, okay? And it says we're going to measure in centimeters. So on your ruler, if you haven't used your ruler yet this year, we have, if we look where the units are smaller, they're closer together, those are centimeters. And then if we were to flip it and look at the other side, where they're bigger and they're spaced out, those are our inches. If we think about our square tiles that we worked with the past couple lessons, we had square inch tiles and we had square centimeter tiles, and you could even get out your tiles, paper or the square tiles that you're using and take a look and measure them up. So the sides of the square inch tiles would be 1 inch, and the sides of your square centimeter tiles would be 1 centimeter long, just like that. Okay, so our first step is to measure the side lengths of the rectangle in centimeters. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so number 1, so the way that you want to do it, and all rulers are a little bit different, but what I want to do is I'm going to mark or line up the 0, right, with that beginning point right there. I'm going to leave it just a little bit below just so I can see where it kind of hits up. And then same thing right here. So if your ruler has a 0 on it, you want to line up the 0 there. If there's not a 0, some rulers don't have a 0. They just have like that beginning marker. It starts right at the end. You might line up with the end of your ruler. So it just depends on the make of your ruler. If you have a 0, line it up right at the 0. If not, you can line it up right at the end. Okay. So if we look at this, and worst case scenario, boys and girls, if you don't have a ruler, just please pay careful attention to mine and what I'm doing here. But I really want you to have a ruler. You're going to need a ruler later on. So if you don't have a ruler, try to get one and see if you can get one for this lesson. But again, worst case scenario, you can follow along with me. But it is so much better and beneficial for you to have the ruler and fun. Okay, so we said that we can see that this is how long. Well, we didn't say, I didn't ask you yet, but how long is the side length of this rectangle? It's 7 centimeters. So we can actually label that right up top there. 7 cm. Cm is the abbreviation for centimeter, which I can see on my ruler, and you might be able to see on yours. Okay. And while I have this lined up, what I want to do is I want to make little tick marks because it says to mark each centimeter with a point, and then we're going to connect the points. So basically what we're doing is we're making like these grid lines on our rectangles because they're not already there. Okay, so since I already had my ruler there, I'm going to make the little points. So like right above the 1 and the top, I'm going to put a little line like that. Can you see that? Okay, and then right above the 2, where the 2 centimeter mark is, I'm going to put another line. I'm going to do the same thing for the 3 and the 4 and the 5 and the 6. And the 7 is already lined up at the end. Does that make sense? So that when I take my ruler away, it looks like that. And then when I'm done with that, and if you want to pause your video to get that done, feel free. But when I'm done, I'm going to take my ruler where I already have it lined up, and I'm going to slide it straight down just like that. Okay. So now I'm going to be lined up with a bottom. So now I just want to be just under that bottom line. Again, I want the end lined up with that 0, the end of the rectangle with a 0. And now I'm going to make that line right there So it's kind of like, let me move it up just a tiny bit. Okay. And then I'm going to make a line right above the 2 centimeter, the 3 centimeter, the 4, the 5, and the 6. So that when I take that away, I can see that I have these lines lined up right there. Does that make sense what we just did? Okay. So that when I am done and I have the lines, the centimeter lines marked, the tick marks at the top, and I have them at the bottom, my next step, again, pause it at any time, boys and girls, is to turn my ruler sideways, and I'm going to use like a straight edge. And all that means is that I want to make a straight line. So I want to make my ruler so I'm not measuring now, I'm just using it as a straight edge to connect the 2 lines like that. See? We just use it so we have like a straight edge where we can connect the 2 lines together to make those straight lines. Okay, I'm going to line up my next 2 tick marks and connect. Slide my ruler down, line up my next 2 tick marks and connect. Slide it down, my next 2 tick marks and connect. Slide it down, the next 2 tick marks, slide it down, and then my last 2 tick marks. And then when I take it away, because I was a little off with that one, that's okay. When I take it away, I have these lines. So then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts. But I'm not done, right? Because I only marked the centimeters for the top and the bottom. I don't need to write for the bottom because if the top is 7 centimeters, how long is the bottom? Also 7 centimeters, right? Because this is a rectangle, and we know with rectangles, opposite sides are the same, opposite sides are equal, right? Okay, so now that we did that top, we need to measure our side, right? So let's line our ruler up. Again, use that pause button if you need to, kiddos. So if you are still working on these lines, pause it and finish that up so you can do a nice, neat job. And then when you're ready, join me here. Okay, so if you're ready to measure this other side, we're going to turn our ruler the other way. We want to line this top left corner up with our 0 and then measure. How many centimeters long is this side? It's 2. So we can put 2 centimeters right on the side there. And what would I put in that corner? Like if I have my side lengths, just like we did with when we were multiplying our arrays and stuff, times, right? So before we even finish making this model, what do we think the area of this rectangle is going to be? What's 2 times 7? 14, right? So that's just a good strategy, right? We could also just multiply our side lengths to find the area, but we're just working on filling in the all the little tiles right now. So we already found that it was 2 centimeters. So now I want to mark the tick mark for the 1 centimeter right in there. And I'm not going to put anything for the 2 because that's where the bottom is, right? And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to slide it all the way down. Okay, I'm just going to leave that little end open so that gives me enough room to, again, mark that 1 centimeter on there. And then I take it away. And then I can see I have this end marked and this end marked. And now what am I going to do? I'm going to connect. So now take your ruler like a straight edge. Okay, and I'm going to put it right under those 2 little tick marks, line it up, and then take your pencil and connect. There we go. And now we can see all the little tiles, right? So just like how it's tiled down there, we now have a rectangle tiled here. And we already said that we thought that the area was 14 because we said that 2 times 7 is 14, but let's count our tiles as a way to double check. Okay, so again, if you're still working on filling in your tiles, filling in your lines, pause it. And then if you're all set with me, join me. We'll touch each tile and we'll count to find the total area to see if we agree with our 14. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we were right. So the total area we're going to fill in right here is 14. Do I just write the number 14? Nope. Do I write 14 centimeters? Not with area, right? So 14 centimeters would be just, if I just measured on the outside, it was 14 centimeters. But with area, we're finding how much space it takes up to fill up the inside of an object or a shape. So 14 centimeters, it's not just 14 centimeters, it would be 14 square centimeters, because we're counting how many squares that are each 1 centimeter long on the outside to fill up that rectangle. So we've got 14 square centimeters. How'd we do? Good job. Look at number 2. All right, number 2 says to use a ruler, again, to measure the side lengths of the rectangle in inches. So here we had centimeters, but now we're measuring in inches. Okay, mark each inch with a point and connect the points to show the square units, then count the squares you drew to find the total area. We're doing the same exact thing this time, except this time, instead of using the centimeter side of our ruler, we're going to flip it and use the other side of our ruler and measure in inches. Are you ready? Okay, so to start off, I'm going to line up, and this side, my inside is a little bit different. It doesn't start all the way at the end of the ruler, but pretty close for that 0. So I'm going to line up that 0, and I can already see how many inches long, and you do the same thing and then look at yours. How many inches long is the top side of this rectangle? 2, right? We can see that it's 2, and I'm going to put IN for inches, and I want to mark my tick marks. Okay, I don't need to put anything at the beginning. I'm going to put 1 on the 1, and I don't need to put anything on the 2 because it's on the 2, right? So I just have that 1 tick mark. I'm going to slide my ruler down all the way to the bottom. I'm going to put it right under the bottom. And again, I'm just going to make that 1 tick mark right above that 1 centimeter mark. Okay. And then I'm ready to connect. So I'm going to turn my ruler and use it like a straight edge. Okay. So once I have that kind of lined up with my lines, take your pencil and connect. And there we go. We have that nice straight line. That's why it's important to use that ruler so we have the nice straight lines that match up, okay? Are we done? No, because we only did the top and the bottom, right? But here's a quick thing too. If the top of this rectangle is 2 inches, how long would the bottom of this rectangle be? Also 2 inches, right? Because when we know with rectangles, opposite sides are equal. Good. All right, so let's do our other side now. So let's measure. So I almost did the centimeter side. Make sure you're on the inches side. And line that. I have a dog hair on my ruler. Line that up. Okay. Make sure the top is lined up with that 0. How long is this side of this rectangle? It's 3 inches, right? I'm just going to mark my tick marks while I'm right here. So I'm going to put a tick mark where the 1 is, the 1 inch mark, and the 2 inch mark. And then it ends on the 3 inch mark, so I don't need to put anything there. And then I'm going to put 3 IN for inches right at the side there. We doing okay? All right, so I had this lined up here. Now I'm going to slide it down to the other end. Okay, and leave a little bit of room there. Okay, and there's my 0 up top, and here's my 1, and here's my 2 inches. So I'm going to put that line right where the 2 inches are, and then 3 is at the bottom. So then it looks like that. And what's my last step here? To connect those lines, right? So turn your ruler like a straight edge. I think I'm actually going to put it on the top, that way we can see a little bit better like that. So I put it just on the top of my line, see? So I can make that line there and see it a little bit better. Okay, and I'm going to slide it down again to where those next 2 meet up, put it on the line, and then I'm going to draw my line there. And there we go. Should look pretty nice and neat if we're working carefully with our ruler. I know that, again, if you need to pause it to finish up drawing your tiles, go ahead and then join me. So I know that I already measured my side length. So if there's 3 on this side, because there's 3 rows, we put a time sign in that corner, right? So 3 times 2, what does that equal? 6, right? 3, 6, stop. So that equals 6. I could also count my tiles. Will you count your tiles with me? We'll touch each tile and count. So we'll put a little dot on each one as we count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the total area would be 6. Do I just leave it as a 6? No. Do I put 6 square centimeters? Do I do square centimeters like I did up there? What do I do? 6 square inches, right? 6 square inches. So what do we notice about our tiles here, our squares here, and our squares here? When it's centimeters, we fit a lot more in, right? Because they're a lot smaller, and these we didn't have nearly as many because our tiles were bigger. Okay, let's look at number 3. All right, Mariana. Will you put your finger or your pencil on Mariana? Okay, or Mariana, either way. Okay, read it with me, please. Mariana uses square centimeter tiles to find the side lengths of the square of the rectangle below. Label each side length, then count the tiles to find the total area. All right, so we just want to label our side lengths, and then we're going to find the area. So for on the side here, we'll see how many rows we have. So we have 1, 2, 3 rows. So we're going to put a 3 right there because there's 3 rows. And then how many are in each row? Go ahead and label that top side. There's 4 in each row, right? And then we can put our time sign in the corner. So we can solve for 3 times 4, but it also says to count the tiles to find the total area. So let's go ahead and touch each tile and count. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the total area is 12 square what? What would this one be? Don't mind my dogs barking in the background because the garbage man's here. Okay. So we have 12 square centimeters. Guess that's one of the burdens of working from home, right? I have a big German Shepherd and then a puppy. Well, she's 9 months now, so she's not a puppy, but she is a black lab. All right. So if we're good with that, go ahead and flip it over. All right. On the back, it says each square is 1 square centimeter. Saffron says that the side length of the rectangle below is 4 centimeters. Kevin says the side length is 5 centimeters. Who is correct? Explain how you know. All right, so each square is a square centimeter. Saffron says that the side length of the rectangle below is 4 centimeters. Kevin says the side length is 5 centimeters. Who is correct? Explain how you know. So that explain means that we need to use words to explain our answer. So let's go ahead and look first. Let's label our side lengths. Let's not worry about Kevin and Saffron say. Let's label ourselves. So for our side length, so how many rows? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 rows. And then how many in each row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in each row. And then we can put our times on the corner. Okay. All right. So let's look back and see what it says. So Saffron says the side length of the rectangle is 4 centimeters. Yeah. 4 is definitely one of the side lengths. Kevin says the side length is 5 centimeters. Yeah, right. There is a 5 on the top too. So who's correct, guys? Could they both be correct? Because even though this one is on the side and we think this one is on the top, these are all sides of our rectangle, right? When we say how many sides does it have, it has 4 sides. And if I were just to take this rectangle and turn it, now this side length is 5, right? So is only one of them correct or are they both correct? They're both correct, right? So it says who is correct. We'll say they with a capital T. They are both correct. because the sides are 4 and 5 centimeters. Okay, so they are both correct because the sides are 4 and 5 centimeters. This side is 4 centimeters and this side is 5 centimeters. So it doesn't matter where they are on it because the shape has 4 sides and we could always turn it. Okay. Good. We are doing really good here. Look at number 5. If you need to pause it and finish that up, please do so. Number 5 says use both square centimeter and square inch tiles to find the area of the rectangles below. Which works best, and explain why. I was going to say I don't have these at home with me, but I do have my square inch tiles. Okay, so I'm going to use, if you want to use your square inch tiles as well, or you could try it with your ruler. So if I want to use my square inches to try to just fill this in, because remember, this is square inches. That fits pretty great, right? And how many did it take? That was really easy, right? There's 3 square inch tiles that fit perfectly in there. Now, let's imagine if we were to use square centimeters. What do we think about that? Would it be so easy as that? We would need a lot more, right? I can use my ruler since we have our rulers handy. So what if I measured? Yep, I had used 3 of these square inch tiles and it filled it perfectly. So that side length is 3 and that other side length here is 1. So it definitely fit in there perfectly. If I flip it and use my centimeter side of my ruler, look at that. You try it. See if you come up with the same thing. What do you notice? When we're measuring with centimeters, does it line up perfectly like the inches did? It does not. It's like 7.5, maybe about 7.5. So would the tiles, if we were using the square centimeter tiles, would they fit in there perfectly? No. Let's check the other side length. Does that line up perfectly? It doesn't, right? That's about 2.5. So the top we said was about 7.5 centimeters and the side length was 2.5 centimeters. So if you have your centimeter tiles, you can work on filling those in. But we can tell just by using the ruler too, it's not going to work out. It's not going to fit in there nice and evenly like the square inch tiles did, because I can put 3 in there perfectly. When I measure with my inches, it's exactly 3 inches and the side length is exactly 1 inch. So it fits nice and cozy, nice and perfect. Okay. So let's answer this. So it says, which works best? Explain why. All right. So inches with a capital I, right? Because we're writing a complete sentence. So inches work best because 3 inch tiles fit it perfectly. Okay. Inches work best because 3 inch tiles fit perfectly. Okay. And we don't need to write this, but we just said, because when we measured in centimeters, it doesn't fit in nice and evenly, right? It's more than if we were to use our centimeter tiles. It doesn't fit in there neatly. It would have some hanging over the edge, or if we didn't have it, so it would be hanging over the edge, it wouldn't be enough to fill it in completely. And remember, when we're finding area, we can't have gaps and we can't have overlaps, and we certainly can't have any hanging off the edge, right? And if we tried to scrunch it all in, it would be overlapping. So inches works because it just fits in there perfectly without any gaps or overlaps. Okay? All right, and the last one, I hope you had fun today because I like this lesson too. So it's always fun when we get to use tiles, and we get to use our rulers and just switch it up a little bit. Okay, so number 6 says, how does knowing side lengths A and B help you find side lengths C and D on the rectangle below? So we kind of already talked about this. Let me read it again. How does knowing side lengths A and B help you find side lengths C and D on the rectangle below? So if I know side length A, do I automatically know side length C without having to measure? So let's say if I measure side length A, let me try inches. Or no, I'm on the centimeter side. It's okay. That one doesn't kind of match up perfectly. Let me turn and use the inches. Side length A is 1 inch. So if A is 1 inch, we can label it. Do I need to measure C or do I automatically know C? I automatically know C. What would it be? 1 inch also. And let me show you something. We could also do 2 little lines like that. That's a representation for inches. Instead of writing IN, we can do that also. Let's measure B in inches. B doesn't quite match up, okay, in inches. So, but it doesn't matter. So it would be 1 and 1 2 3/4. So if I was to write that, it would be 1 3/4 inch. I'm going to do those 2 little lines for inches again. Okay. And would I need to measure B or would I automatically know it? I would automatically know it, right? Because it would be the same as B. Okay. So how does knowing side lengths A and B help you find lengths of C and D? If I know one side and it's a rectangle, you would automatically know it because with rectangles, opposite sides are equal. Opposite sides are the same. Okay. So let's see. How does knowing one side help you find the other? So we'll say in rectangles, capital letter at the beginning, rectangles, opposite sides are equal, right? So if I know A, then I automatically know C. If I know B, then I automatically know B. Okay, there we go. And we talked about that earlier too, right? So if I look at up here as well, if I know that this side is 4 right here, what's this side? It's 4 because it's a rectangle, opposite sides are equal. If this top side is 5, what's this bottom side? It's also going to be 5, okay? Super job today, kiddos. I hope you had fun. It was fun measuring and doing something different today. And I will see you all tomorrow. Keep up the good work.